Welcome to the IHH for Veteran weekly live stream. Here at IHH for Veteran, we specialize in assisting veterans with their physical and mental health transformation. This group addresses the unique challenges of veterans to improve their overall quality of life. The live stream this evening will be discussing how the Navy prepared an aviator for the biggest challenge of his life. This is an article by Thomas Baldwin. He said, during my long career as a naval aviator, I logged more than 2,500 hours flying the SH-60B and MH-60R Seahawk helicopters. I was involved in planning from the tactical to strategic level of command, whether it was as a pilot on the cross-country navigation training flight or working as a NATO staff officer. Each tour of duty involved planning. Since retiring, I've taught Navy planning to international maritime officers at the U.S. Naval War College. During a crisis, things happen very quickly, but just because we are in the crisis doesn't mean we cut corners to save time. I never thought I would find myself agonizing over the planning process in my personal life. When it touches you personally, the stakes can be very high. In April 2022, I received an afternoon call at work in Rhode Island from one of my mom's friends who told me that my mother had woken up in the middle of the day and found herself lying on the living room floor of her apartment in Maryland with no recollection of how she got there. Mom had no food in the house and had not eaten in a few days. I was shocked. She was 76 and a career psychiatric nurse who had retired from teaching part-time 2 months earlier. I was 400 miles away and felt completely helpless. I found myself confronted with a huge crisis. Everything I learned in the Navy kicked in. I developed a prioritized list of steps and actions to take. First, I needed her to be safe and free from harm. I started with the basics, getting her food and water in the immediate and short term. Once assured she was well fed and hydrated, I started to analyze what was going on with her physically and mentally. Though she had enough food for the first week, I needed to put a plan in place to ensure she could get groceries. I also had to consider her monthly bills, such as rent, car insurance, health insurance, and utilities. Sadly, Mom had gone to great lengths to avoid revealing the truth about her situation. I learned that since retiring from work, she had isolated herself, retreating from the world and dropping into a deep depression. She had gradually stopped taking care of herself and no longer felt safe leaving her apartment. She had stopped paying bills and even forgotten how to access her bank account. She was in terrible distress, but hid her problems over the phone very well. I persisted with regular communication and was eventually able to piece together the true nature of her struggles. Next, I brought Mom to Rhode Island for a 3-week visit, where I had a better chance to observe how she was doing. She had great difficulty with short-term memory and would often pause while speaking, losing her train of thought or struggling to find the right words. She recognized something was very wrong, but didn't know what to do. It became readily apparent she was no longer safe living alone. I was fortunate that Mom recognized the futility of living independently in the face of so many difficulties. Together, we decided that it would be best for her to move into an assisted living facility in Rhode Island. I had to organize, then sell or donate about 2/3 of her household, which included hundreds of items with sentimental and monetary value. Not an easy process and made even more difficult on a very short timeline. I needed to assume responsibility for all her personal financial accounts. To manage all of her affairs, I needed to obtain a power of attorney. My mother now lives in a safe and secure environment less than a mile from my home, but that's not the end of the story. In fact, it goes on each day with new challenges seemingly around every corner. So since I am her only child and sole caregiver, her journey will naturally be my journey as well. For now, the crisis is over, but the planning will never stop. I continue to draw on my experiences as a planner in uniform and learn each day as the two of us continue on this long walk together. To schedule a complimentary assessment, go to my website, veteransvictories.org. Thank you and good evening.